Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty powerful argument from our source material, the idea that a new global power bloc has quietly formed, and its influence, well, it might already be shaping your world in ways you haven't even thought about.
It all kicks off with this number, 300.9 crore. Now, if you're not familiar, a crore is a unit from the Indian numbering system. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about just over 3 billion people. That's a huge number, but what does it really mean?
Well, that is the combined population of just three countries, India, China, and Russia. When you put them together, you've got a massive slice of humanity. But their power, their influence, it goes way, way beyond just a head count.
First off, this population represents the largest pool of human resources on the entire planet. Think of it as the engine room of global labor, powering everything from massive factory floors all the way up to the highest levels of tech. And it's no surprise. With that many people, you've also got the world's biggest consumer market. I mean, every major global company you can think of, from Apple to Toyota, they all have their eyes on these 3 billion potential customers.
And here's the thing. They aren't just buying stuff, they're building it. China has long been called the world's factory, right? And now you add in India's huge Make in India initiative, and you've got the single biggest manufacturing force the world has ever seen. But the source material we're looking at argues that this group's real power goes beyond just people and production. Its true strength, it says, rests on 5 interconnected pillars.
So we've already seen that they're the world's biggest makers and consumers. But the argument adds 3 more pillars, and this is where it gets interesting. They are largely self-sufficient farmers, which means they can feed themselves. They are a combined military superpower with some serious nuclear capability, and maybe the most important of all, they are the world's intellectual engine. And that brings us to this idea of knowledge power. The argument here is that this isn't just about labor, it's about being the global brain. The source points out that from NASA to Silicon Valley, Indian and Chinese scientists and engineers are absolutely crucial. I mean, when the CEOs of companies like Google and Microsoft come from this talent pool, you're not just a factory anymore, you're the source code. Okay, so if this block is so powerful, with all 5 of those pillars firmly in place, you gotta ask, why does it seem to be surrounded by so much conflict? Well, the source we're examining suggests this is no accident. It's a deliberate strategy. The argument is basically the classic divide and rule tactic. The idea is to keep these giants busy, to keep them preoccupied by fueling regional tensions, or as the source puts it, pouring oil on the fire. Think about the ongoing hotspots. India-Pakistan, China-Taiwan, Russia-Ukraine. The theory is that these conflicts are meant to distract and drain the resources of this rising power. And this slide really lays it out. The source presents these 2 opposing economic models. On one side, you have an economy of creation based on farming, innovating, and actually manufacturing things that the world needs. And on the other side, an economy of destruction, which profits from fueling conflicts and then selling the weapons to fight them. It's a really stark contrast. Now, the argument gets even bigger, pulling in 3 more technological powerhouses, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. The source suggests they are a natural part of this Eastern Bloc, but there's a catch. And a really powerful metaphor is used to describe their situation. Even with all their immense economic and cultural power, we're talking Samsung, Toyota, K-pop, their security is heavily dependent on the West. This dependence, the argument goes, acts like a collar chain, limiting their freedom and kind of forcing their alignment. Japan is held up as the perfect example. Here's a nation that literally rose from the ashes of World War II to become this global giant of innovation and quality. And yet, it remains tethered by those same security dynamics, a modern economic phoenix that, as the argument suggests, isn't totally free to fly its own way. So, what happens when we look at all 6 of these nations together? India, China, Russia, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. A whole new picture emerges of a potential global alliance, which the source material calls the Phoenix Alliance. I mean, just look at this breakdown. When you combine their strengths, their control over crucial resources and technology is just staggering. You've got China's rare earth minerals, Russia's oil and gas, Taiwan's semiconductors, Japan's high-tech components, South Korea's memory chips, and India's human capital. In theory, they could become an almost completely self-sufficient economic bloc. So what's the glue that holds them together? The source argues it's a shared identity, and it's summed up in this quote: "We are Phoenix." The idea is that all 6 of these nations, in their own unique way, have had to rebuild themselves after periods of huge destruction, humiliation, or colonization. They've all risen from the ashes, just like that mythical bird.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This Phoenix Alliance thing, it might sound a bit abstract, like some grand geopolitical theory. But the source argues that the ultimate proof of this interconnected reality is something you probably hold in your hand every single day. Just take a look at your smartphone. It is a miniature, real-world example of this Phoenix Alliance in action. Its brain, that cutting-edge processor, probably from Taiwan. Its eyes, the high-tech camera sensor, that's from Japan. Its face, the brilliant display, from South Korea. The body gets assembled in China, and its value is realized in massive markets like India. See? It's all right there, in your hand.
And that leaves us with a final, really provocative thought from our source material. The world that's literally in your hand is already a product of this deep global cooperation. So the question we're left with is a pretty simple one. Who really benefits from trying to break it all apart?
If you want more content like this, feel free to please subscribe to the Netizen Files YouTube channel for more in-depth tutorials and tech discussions. Thank you for watching.